It's always really funny to me when people say, especially in my comments, that they can't take advice or they won't take advice from a single woman, which is quite stupid, really. And if you think about it, there are so many people in life, especially women, okay, that women take advice from. Doctors and surgeons, right? Doctors, we take medical advice from them, even though they have not experienced and they are not living every single disease and illness that we might well have, okay? Professors, lecturers, and teachers, a lot of them teach on things they've never actually lived, experienced, or done, especially when you look in the business world, for example, philosophy, psychology, economics. You can have people who are in a lot of debt themselves who teach on finance and economics, and people listen to them and take their advice. In addition to that, I see a lot of women taking advice from men on how to be feminine, how to be women, even though as men they have no clue what it's like to live in the body and have the experience of women. They can't tell you with any real authority what it means to be feminine and what femininity is, much less to decide what femininity and womanhood is for women. And so when I see women mostly in the comments saying, and look, men do it as well, but in this instance, I get a lot of women in my comments saying, why would we take advice, or why are you speaking about the dynamics between men and women, the dynamics of being a single woman, the dynamics of singleness and marriage when you yourself are not married? It is a nonsensical argument to have that has become very commonplace, and people feel that they've got a kind of gotcha moment when they say to you, well, you're not married, and so what? Okay, common sense, competency, is not reserved for those who are married. And if it were the case, we would see very different family setups. Okay, people wouldn't have so much childhood trauma, difficult relationships with their parents. Most people, the bad example has been set to them by who? Their married parents. Okay, and so we do live in a world and systems of power that want you to believe, okay, that single women are infants mentally. When in fact, so many of us as single women, we have a proven track record and evidence of capability, competency, expertise, common sense, developed humanity, emotional intelligence. Many of us have held responsibility in our families, at work. I am trusted by CEOs, okay? I coach and train and facilitate for a living. So when women make these comments, it just reveals to me an immaturity, but it also reveals to me the attachment that they have to who they've been told women are and are capable of being. And I recognize fully that as a single woman, I sit outside of the containers that society and systems of power have told you a woman can rightly sit outside of. Okay, and so because I do not have a husband, because I'm not in a marriage whereby you are supposedly covered, where your womanhood is validated and becomes legitimate and certifiable, people will always try and accuse or levy at me that I do not have the right to speak, that I do not have the experience. I've experienced life. Okay, and just because you're single and you've chosen not to get married, for example, and not to be partnered with a man, it does not mean that you have not developed, nor can you develop, okay, skills, competencies, capabilities, and understanding of human behavior. It is not reserved for those who are married, because like I say, we see plenty dysfunctional marriages. We see plenty of people who are immature, toxic, dysfunctional in marriages. And we witness this all the time in real life, but also on TV, okay? Let's just be clear here, yeah? 90 Day Fiancé, Love is Blind, all of those shows, they show real human beings with real imperfections, some people more than others, getting married and being married. And so even your pastors that you take advice from, as we all so well know, they don't always have the embodied experience to be giving you advice. And yet there you are donating your money, applauding, and relying on them for gas and air to make life decisions yourself. And so if you are a single woman, do not allow people to, challenge, diminish your right to speak and observe what you're observing and name your observations, and your right to be respected as a fully functioning adult.